Where's the rest of our board? Right there. Hey, Brian. Are we good, Aaron? Oh, we're good. No, I was going to have you sit there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Lead the charge. And you can sit wherever you want, Dr. Parks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our February 2025 Board of Education meeting. It's lovely to see so many people here tonight. I am keenly aware that that is not for me, so let's get down to some business so we can get to the highlight of this evening. Can I ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence? Mr. Adams, can you lead us in the pledge tonight? And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, thank you all for being here. As a reminder, persons wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the start of public participation. Speakers must register on the form provided by the district at the entrance of the boardroom to maintain a first-come, first-served process. For purposes of following up with speakers, the speakers must provide their name, address, telephone number, and/or email address. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed during public participation, the speakers will provide the topics. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Also, in case of emergency, would everyone please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building? Please stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any emergency vehicles. So first, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda? A second? Brian? Any opposed? Abstentions? All in favor, say aye. Great. Next, we'll be taking a few moments to honor sophomore Jack Crabb, and we have a short video that tells his story.
Got to hole 5, and my dad hit his drive and was walking back and just collapsed on the cart path. I ran, grabbed my phone, I called 911. The 911 operator said, "You need to perform CPR," because my dad's color was all purple. No one there knew how to do CPR. I was the only one, so I started performing CPR, and I was going for about 3 to 4 minutes nonstop. And I knew he couldn't hear me, but I was just kind of telling him to like breathe and like wake up through the whole thing.
I actually don't remember anything about the day. My memory has been wiped from that day and going back to the night before. I think I woke up a couple days later and asked, "What am I doing here?" When they told me you had suffered a cardiac arrest, I was surprised because I had no symptoms prior to this. First time I saw Jack, I was obviously told what had happened. I didn't even know that he knew CPR, so I was shocked that he knew it, extremely emotional.
He gave me a couple like handshakes, squeezed my hand, and just like multiple times said thank you. I'm grateful I learned CPR. At first, I didn't think I would ever use it, to be honest. The fact that I learned that and was able to perform it on my dad, anything could happen at any time, and I'm extremely grateful that I learned it.
On behalf of the Board of Education, the entire Victor community, we are so incredibly proud of you, Jack. Your quick thinking and calm response saved your father's life. Your bravery serves as an inspiration to us all and a powerful reminder of the importance of learning these life-saving skills. At this time, I'd like to introduce a special guest who has come tonight to also honor Jack. Senator Pam Helming is a New York State Senator for the 54th District and is here tonight to bestow a special honor upon Jack.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, everyone. Wow, that was a pretty powerful video. I feel like I catch my breath for a moment. I'd like to say thank you to Superintendent Terranova, to all of the educators who are here, to recognize my special colleague, Victor Mayor Gary Haddon. Thank you for being here as well, and to everyone who was here this evening to honor Jack. And to Jack's parents, Tricia and John, I'm speaking now as a mother and a grandmother. I just want to thank you because you have raised an incredible son. And I know you have a daughter as well. I'm sure she's amazing too. But Jack, you have just inspired so many people to learn CPR so that they could help save lives as well. But thank you for raising a wonderful young man. You know, every day on the news, we hear stories about young people. It's not usually very positive, right? It's usually focused on all the negative. But I promise you, my district includes 4 counties. Across those 4 counties and across the entire Empire State, there are young people just like Jack who are doing amazing things every day. And whenever I have an opportunity to celebrate them, to recognize their achievements, that's one thing that I absolutely love about my job. And when I heard, Jack, your story about what happened on the golf course and how you were so brave and courageous, you kept your wits about you, you performed CPR just like you were trained to perform it, I was so inspired and so motivated. And that's why I'm here tonight, to recognize you. One thing that I could do as a New York State Senate is award a New York State Liberty Medal. And just to give you some context, the Liberty Medal is awarded to individuals who have performed heroic or humanitarian acts on behalf of their fellow New Yorkers. It's the highest civilian honor that the New York State Senate can bestow upon an individual. So it's something that when I learn about a heroic action, humanitarian act, I can make a recommendation to the Senate, but it has to pass and be approved by the entire Senate, and that's through a resolution. So with the help of Austin and others on my team, we gathered as much information as we could about you, about how you saved your father's life. We presented that, and it was approved. So that day, as you all just heard, Jack and his father John and a friend were golfing when John collapsed on the green. Jack called for help, and through the guidance and help of 911, he performed CPR. And I want to just take a moment, too, and recognize the Victor Central School District for making sure that the students who are enrolled in the swimming program and that physical education teachers, everyone who's involved in making sure that these students learn that life-saving technique. Because I'm not sure it's being done in every school in our state. But hopefully, again, Jack, your message, what you did, will help get those other schools on board in teaching this life-saving message. But Jack, as you said in the video, you performed CPR for several minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, I understand, until the first responders arrived. And when I was doing research for the Liberty Medal, I read reports from several physicians who later treated you, John, and they all said basically the same thing. Jack, that's because of your quick thinking, your ability to administer CPR, that your father had the outcome that he did. Not only did you save his life, but you improved his chances of this very successful outcome. So without further ado, Jack, if you want to come up here. I don't know if your parents would like to come up as well. Superintendent, do you want to join us? Jack, there aren't many of these that are given out. Like I said, you have to go through a process to be awarded the Liberty Medal. And tonight, it truly is an honor to be able to present you with this token of appreciation for what you have done. On behalf of the people of the state of New York, the people of the 54th Senate District, congratulate you. Thank you, Jack. And Jack, one more thing, there are a couple, so this is the official certificate that comes with the Liberty Award. But this, to me, and to your parents, we have extra copies too. I think, I'm going to cry now too. But I think this is what's special. Because it was adopted by resolution, it's now recorded in the history books of our state. So maybe someday you, with your children, your grandchildren, you'll search the history books and you'll be able to find this reminder of what you did for your family, for the community, and how you've inspired so many people in the state and hopefully across the country to learn CPR and save lives. Congratulations again. Thank you. We'll get a photo. Last, okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova.
Thank you, Senator Helming, for being here tonight. Congratulations to Jack and his family. And thank you to our health and PE department for ensuring our students are learning these life-saving techniques. It's not often that we get tears at a board meeting, so this is a very special night. I would now ask you all, if you would like to please join us back in the boardroom for the rest of our meeting. Welcome back, everyone. We are ready for the superintendent's update.
Thank you, Mrs. Kostecki. I have 3 quick updates. First is a huge shout out to Jack Crabb, who hopefully people saw him being honored for his heroic, amazing grace under pressure, saving his dad's life in a crisis situation when his dad had a cardiac arrest. And not only a great thank you to Jack and his family, but also to the health and physical education teachers. Mrs. Kostecki already thanked him, but I need to also thank them because they teach the critical skill of CPR, and our kids learn it, and it's something that's a lifesaver. So it's another example of our amazing teachers, and a special thank you to Senator Helming for giving Jack the highest honor from the state Senate. So that's a big piece to my update. I also want to remind everyone of our central theme from Victor Central School District's vision statement, which was board approved in the fall, and it reads, and this is part of the vision statement: every day in every building, every person will feel safe, valued, inspired, and motivated to grow, both academically and personally. We will celebrate diversity, foster a sense of belonging, and strive for academic achievement, and students will become informed, confident scholars and leaders who are prepared to thrive in an ever-changing world. I'd like to remind everyone of that theme. I did so in my community message as well as my staff message. It is a central theme of our vision that was created last year and then approved this fall. It's a focus on a sense of belonging and celebrating diversity, not just words, but seeing them as building blocks along with the concept of engaging teaching and learning and engaging instruction and lessons for kids, and certainly a partnership with the community. So community partnership, engaging teaching and learning, and belonging and celebrating diversity are keys to this district, and really get our kids at the highest levels, both academically and social emotionally. A major key to this focus is a teaching of empathy, and that is so that differences in people are not looked upon as weaknesses or threats. They're looked upon as strengths and as values, and something that is valued by everyone and seen to really support every single person to be a part of this community. It includes supporting subgroups that are typically marginalized in society, and it's not in place to take something away from certain groups, but it really is in place to raise everybody and give every single one of our over 4,300 students an opportunity to reach their full potential. So that's our focus. That will continue to be our focus. And I just thought it was important to remind everyone of that. And lastly, we are in the process of setting up our second round of advocacy meetings with the Board of Education and state legislators. That includes the governor's office as well. Thank you to the Board of Education for your leadership during this whole process. Preliminary governor runs of the state aid was generally positive, but people need to continue to be reminded that Victor is an anomaly, that we've had increased enrollment over the past 15 to 20 years, and very few districts, if any, around us have had that same concept, and we've lost over $100 million in aid during that time. It's an anomaly that we need to keep reminding people of to support the students that we have and give them the best program we possibly can. So just a thank you to the board, and we'll continue to update everyone about our advocacy as the budget becomes finalized, hopefully by April 1st. That's my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Item number 5, public participation. Although the board's work is open to the public, this is not a meeting with the public. At this time, privilege of the floor is offered to those who have signed up to speak. The chair will be happy to recognize those of you who wish to speak. When you approach the microphone, please identify yourself before presenting your thoughts. Do we have, okay, we do not have anyone. Item number 6. I will need a motion to accept consent items A through I.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Well, we discuss. If there's any questions or discussion.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
So,
Any questions?
just for discussion, just from extending gratitude to the volleyball booster club for the boys and the softball booster club for the donations to the district.
you.
Supporting the student athletes and the students is great. So thank you to those groups.
All in favor?
Can I-
Yes,
I was
do you have
just gonna give
something else?
Just a couple other quick updates. First of all, in the treasurer's report, and I want to answer Mrs. Prescott's question, which was a great question. She asked, what is the mentoring club and is it still active? And we were trying to make sure that we had a proper answer for that. It's actually the Freshman Connections Club, so it's been shifted to that particular name it used to be LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, Linked Crew, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Siesto. He's amazing, Mr. Siesto. Anyhow, Linked Crew, now it is the Freshman Connection Club, and it's a great effort of our upper-level students in the high school to support our freshmen. It's basically mentoring, but we do have technically a mentoring club. I wanted to clarify that. I also want to recognize two individuals on our personnel agenda. David Porter, science teacher, is retiring as of June 2025. And also Karen Keller, a full-time school bus driver, is leaving us in 2 weeks, February 27th, 2025. Both have spent many years working with our kids and doing an amazing job. I know Mr. Porter attends just about everything. He was at the NHS ceremony just a couple months ago, and both of them will be missed. So just wanted to recognize that.
Anything else? There's a lot of noise in there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number 7, campus news.
Good evening. My name is Rob DeRose, the principal of the Early Childhood School. Recently, our school held its winter data days following the mid-year benchmark Ames Web assessment, which is administered to all kindergarten and first grade students. During these data day sessions, an interdisciplinary team, including classroom teachers, came together to analyze student performance in ELA and math. We took the time to celebrate progress, identify students who may need additional support, and make informed decisions about academic intervention services. These meetings are essential to ensuring that every student receives the targeted instruction, interventions, and support that they need to continue to make meaningful progress. It's an exciting time of year as our students' learning is accelerating rapidly. Our UPK students are deeply engaged in collaborative play while developing their early literacy and numeracy skills, learning letters and sounds, exploring numbers and quantities, and building an important background knowledge through thematic unit learning. This week, they're discovering all about different community helpers. A lot of the students' most favorite community helper they learned about this week was, of course, the garbage trucks and garbage collectors. Meanwhile, our kindergartners are making remarkable strides reading connected and decodable text, writing sentences, and exploring addition by combining numbers in different ways. Our first graders are enhancing their reading fluency with increasingly complex texts, writing letters to classmates, and tackling challenging story problems in math by solving and illustrating addition and subtraction equations. It's truly inspiring to witness their growth and the joy they bring to the learning process. This progress is a testament to the dedication and commitment of our teachers, TAs, aides, and staff who work tirelessly to support each student every single day. This week's extra special as our students celebrate both the 100th day of school and Valentine's Day. These milestones bring excitement and joy to our young learners and create a wonderful opportunity for families and community involvement. We love seeing parents and volunteers join us to support these engaging and fun activities and celebrations that happen in our classrooms. Also, I wanted to thank Mrs. Sue Utz for helping coordinate and Karen Finter for helping to coordinate and create internship opportunities within our school. Right now we have 8 interns from the high school coming down each week that are interested in learning more about what it's like to be a teacher in 2025 and possibly in their future. We're also excited about offering these interns some seminars too to reflect, ask questions, and learn more about the teaching profession. We're really excited about welcoming them, and they've really made a positive impact already, and they're some phenomenal young, hopefully future educators. Lastly, I'd like to celebrate and highlight our Golden Apple winner. Madeline Van Aken received the Golden Apple this month. She is just a dedicated, special educator. It was well deserved. She puts every child at the forefront, learns unique interests about them, and then creates strength-based approaches to help each child succeed. It happens to be her first year as a probationary teacher here in Victor, and I'm really excited about a career here in Victor with such a powerful and promising young educator. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Morrow. I am the principal of the intermediate school, and I will be pinch hitting today for Heidi Robb, who couldn't be here this evening. So I'm first going to talk about some updates from the VPS. VPS has been a busy place over the past month. PTSA is leading a book fair at VPS for both primary and intermediate students. This is always an exciting time for our students, and they love browsing the books. We also love seeing the familiar faces of former students that are currently at the intermediate school in our halls. I hear them say so many positive things about their experience at the primary as they are walking down the hall to the book fair. This is a credit to the great staff at the primary school that have helped those students develop great memories of their time at VPS. Yesterday, all of our students and staff went to the RPO for a concert. This is the second year we have done this, and it was wonderful. Thank you to Kelly Klink and Alex Teepole DeWitt for their efforts to make this happen. We need many buses for all of our school community, and they have to be in Rochester by the 10:15 concert time. After 2 bus runs for arrival, this is no small feat. We also needed many packed lunches so that our entire school can eat when we return at 12:30. In addition, thank you to our music department for preparing our students ahead of time to learn the different instruments and things they might encounter at the concert. This has been a favorite memory for many of our students and also our staff. Thank you to the Board of Education for supporting these experiences for our students. Now I'd like to share some updates for the intermediate school. I'm excited to share some updates from our school community at the intermediate school, where we've been working hard to provide engaging, meaningful experiences for our students while continuing to foster a supportive and inclusive environment. This month, in recognition of Black History Month, we've been honoring important figures in history through our morning announcements. Each week, we highlight a different individual who has made a significant impact in our world, helping students learn about the diverse legacies that shape our society. We've received wonderful feedback from both students and staff, and it's been great to see the discussions this sparks in classrooms. Empathy continues to be a focal point in our classrooms this month. Teachers are leading thoughtful conversations about the importance of understanding and supporting one another, and we're encouraging students to be mindful of their actions and words. These conversations are helping build a strong sense of community, and we're already seeing positive changes in how students interact with each other. Another exciting part of our school mornings over the past few weeks has been some live performances from our students. Members of our school chorus and rhythm machine group have performed live as students enter the building. It's been a beautiful way to create an uplifting atmosphere and help set a positive tone for the day ahead. Students and staff alike have been enjoying these performances, and it's really making mornings here very special. So a special thank you to Mrs. Oldfield and Mrs. Atwater for putting our students in that position for those performances. As we move through this time of year, we're also re-emphasizing our expectations for students, both inside and outside all areas of our school community. It's a time for us to reaffirm the importance of our school model. We respect ourselves, we respect others, and we respect VIS. We're having intentional conversations with students and families, especially when tricky situations arise, to ensure that we're creating learning experiences from those moments. Our goal is always to guide students toward growth and understanding, helping them to become the best version of themselves. Thank you once again for your continued support in making our school a wonderful place for our students to learn and grow. Your commitment makes a difference in the lives of our students every day, and we are truly grateful for your partnership we share with you in shaping their future lives. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Gee, the principal of Victor Junior High School. Before I begin, last week was our Counselor Recognition Week for National Counselor Week, so I want to make sure that I thank the team we have at the junior high school. We have some fantastic folks, not just in our building, but across the district, doing a lot of really good work for some kids. So thank you to all of our school counselors and associated counseling department people. Like Rob had said, we've also been focusing on using data to help support and move forward our instruction. So recently, as part of our MTSS work, which you probably have heard, that multi-tiered system of support, we're really looking at different groups, looking at student data at the end of every 10 weeks with a different lens. So our department leaders are looking at it from the lens of a department. Are there trends within particular courses within their department where we're seeing kids maybe having more success or more struggle? We're bringing that to individual departments. We have our professional learning communities really looking at the assessment data and the work that we're asking kids to do sort of on a regular basis to see whether or not there's something we need to go back and reteach or revisit. Our counseling department is looking at some of the social emotional aspects of student performance. And we have our attendance team looking at student, sort of attendance as well. And so we really have a nice system in place where we're kind of approaching student success from a multiple point angle. And I highlight that only because we've just been kind of wrapping up that work from the end of our second quarter as we start to prepare for supporting our kids into the third quarter and beyond. Some of that also, like Rob mentioned, does inform our AIS and some of our more intensive services as well. So that work has been ongoing and continues to be. And then it's not that often that I talk about any individual students, but there are two, Brian, one of them is actually in your building, that I had a great conversation with today, and then another student who's in our building who's doing some really impressive things. So the high school student, Jillian Smith is her name, and Dr. Terranova has Jillian Smith as part of his leadership team and referred her to me to meet about the idea of a mentor club. And I heard the mentoring club talked about a little bit earlier. And so Jillian's vision is really unique, where she felt like she could find high school students that would want to partner up with small groups of junior high school students to teach them how to be successful students. Not necessarily teaching them math or English or science or social studies, but teaching them how to be organized, how to prioritize, how to manage a calendar, all the things that she had recognized through an internship that she did in our French classes earlier this year. And she said, I think these kids just need some help on how to kind of do school. So really impressive leadership on her part. And then the last student I want to highlight is Josh Lim. He is a student of ours who's a musician who's right now with the Hochstein Youth Orchestra and just recently had his first solo, which his dad was kind enough to share that with me and to be able to see that. And just, as an extension of our music program, just an awesome kid doing some really great things. And so certainly want to highlight that as well too. So thank you for your time and enjoy next week if you get a little more time with your families. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Siesto. I'm the principal of Victor Senior High School. We have a few updates on what's been happening at the high school this month. I want to start off by recognizing our Diversity Club. They are doing telling their story posters and announcements for Black History Month. This is the third year that we've been doing this, and they are trying to highlight African Americans who have made a mark in history, but not everyone might be well known, so it's a great educational piece in our building as well. Last Thursday, we held our second annual Black Scholars Recognition Night. It was a fantastic evening. We honored 27 Victor Senior High School students who are recognized as Victor Senior High School's Black Scholars through the Urban League of Rochester. This is a program that's been going on through the Urban League for over 4 decades, where they provide academic recognition, college readiness assistance, and scholarship incentives to students who achieve and maintain a B average or better, so that's 83 or higher throughout high school. There are also scholarship opportunities for students who are seniors who qualify as a Black Scholar. We want to thank the board members who were able to come last week, and Dr. Terranova. It was a fantastic evening, and it was highlighted by Dennis Cole, who is the Victor Senior High School parent of one of our recipients, Dennis Cole Jr. He's also a member of our safety and security team who served as the keynote speaker and gave a very uplifting talk to our students. I would also like to give an update on our Model United Nations, which is now in its second year. The Model UN is a simulation of the UN General Assembly that's held in New York City. Model UN students become delegates representing different countries to participate in debates, speeches, negotiations, and they write resolutions, and they resolve conflicts and vote for the best interests of the country that they're representing. They encourage members of the greater Rochester community to address global issues such as human rights, international justice, sustainable development, and fair trade. Our Model UN, who's led by Austin Donrow, he's a social studies teacher who's the class advisor for this. They participated in the Central New York Model UN Symposium held at Syracuse University recently, where they work alongside over 700 students from other schools across the state. And in March, they're going to be going to a conference at St. John Fisher University, where we're going to be bringing 22 students, where we are going to represent Singapore and the Netherlands. So they're very excited for that opportunity. Last Saturday, our Winter Guard had their home show where they took first place. It was a fantastic performance. And this Saturday, VIPE is going to be performing. Doors open at 12. Competition starts at 1. We take the floor at 2:45, where we're hoping to once again claim first place. So it should be an exciting event this Saturday. And we did have 2 overnight trips this past month. The first one was a wrestling trip that went to Duanesburg, New York for an overnight competition. The team went 4-1 on the day, and they came away with second place honors. They had the opportunity to train at the Elite Kirby Training Center, but they had a great time bonding as a team, where they enjoyed things like the pool and watched movies in the conference room, and they were also able to socialize with some other students from different schools that they normally don't see. And our cheerleaders just got back from Orlando, where they competed in the ESPN Wide World of Sports for the national championship. This is the largest and the most prestigious high school cheerleading event in the country. Thousands of teams compete from all over the United States after qualifying in their respective state competitions. Victor Varsity Cheer competed in the Division II placement, and they placed in the top 6 in the prelims on Saturday. They competed in the semifinals on Sunday, and they missed competing for the national championship by 0.6 of a point. So it was very close. However, they said that they had a great time. It was an honor and a privilege. They thanked the Board of Education, Dr. Terranova, their families, and the community for the support. So they had a great time nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you all. Some exciting stuff as we go into our February break. The board wanted to take a quick moment at the end of Campus News to actually thank and recognize Richard Stutzman, who has been with us for the last few months. Your work and your dedication to this district is just so appreciated. We are so grateful that you've been here with us, and we thank you at this last board meeting that you'll be at with us, and we welcome Christine. Also, I would like to congratulate, on behalf of the board, our Golden Apple winner, Madeline Van Aken, as well. Very exciting. All right, up next, the role of the Learning Center, Karen and Karen.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here tonight. Karen and I wanted to just give you a brief update around the Victor Learning Center. So we've had about 1.5 years of operation and wanted to provide some updates and insights around the center and forecast a little bit what the capital project might have in store for the space. So the Learning Center really is part of the overall strategic plan for the district. How are we thinking about what might be some barriers to access? And when we think about students who, whether it's because of a suspension or a hospitalization or just needing some additional support, how can we leverage having some places here on campus that students can receive that just-in-time support. So it certainly ties into when we think about our management plan, under our strategic plan, it really centers around removing those barriers and having those supports embedded in so that kids can be successful and stay on track for their graduation requirements if they're a high school student, or have a bridge between the classroom and perhaps a different placement. Prior to the 23-24 school year, when the center opened, if we had students that needed because of suspension, if they needed to access tutoring, oftentimes we would have to either contract separately or through BOCES. The waiting lists typically were long, so for students who were on a shorter term of suspension, they were unable to receive that tutoring and would come back after missing 5-10 days of instruction, and that really would set them back. So we're so fortunate to have the center to be able to provide that continuity for our students. So as you know or may remember, in 2022-23 during that school year, the district purchased the space with that intent to provide some short and long-term in-house tutoring and a space for professional development. Since then, we've been able to leverage the space both for tutoring as well as a great space that, while it's still on campus, it's removed from buildings. And so if teachers are working on curriculum projects, if they're attending release-based professional learning, after-school professional learning, it is a spot that they can go and access. It is really, even in its current state, doing a nice job meeting our needs. The Spot Mart has also, and Karen has done a great amount of work with them. The Spot Mart is our in-house food pantry that's run by the Spot. Families can indicate a need. They're able to be provided food with that frequency depending on their level of need. There's currently about 55 to 65 families within our community that access the Spot Mart. It is available for both delivery to families and pickup to families for food distribution, and that Spot Mart component is a 100% volunteer run. In the capital project, we're really in an exciting phase now because we're working with the architects on what the building will look like. So no longer will it look like the old YMCA, but really we'll have some dedicated spaces for the Spot Mart for both large group and small group professional learning, as well as small group and larger group tutoring space. So we're really able to maximize that building to meet our growing needs. So what does the Learning Center do? Well, I've already spoken a little bit about ensuring that continuity of instruction for students, whether it's short-term or long-term. Students are able to work with a dedicated teacher and a teacher assistant to get that one-on-one or small group support as needed. It helps students stay connected to the campus, which when you think about it, if students are out of school because of a suspension, how are we working with them to overcome whatever happened, to get on the right foot, and to start repairing whatever that harm was? And so having the connection to counselors, psychologists, admin, teachers, other staff members really makes a huge difference for kids. And it's just a short walk down the path or a quick a stop on the way in or out, and we're able to work with those students. And then finally, it does provide some transitional bridges. Oftentimes, if we have students who are out because of a medical need and they're coming back into school, starting from being out to going back to a full day, whether it is the junior high or high school schedule, can be pretty taxing. So to have a space that can be flexible, where students can attend on a truncated day up at the high school, for instance, and then come to the Learning Center for the last portion of their day, really does make a big difference. And Karen will share some specific examples of some of those transitional bridges and transitional pieces. As I mentioned, there is a full-time teacher and a full-time teacher assistant that staff the center that allows us to have at max 10 to 12 students working in small groups with those individuals. We could increase that as needed. And as I mentioned, because of the proximity, it's right on campus, counselors can visit, related service providers can visit and provide those related services to students. Even our security team members, and the good Officer Boyer has been known to go down, visit students as they're at the Learning Center, and I heard he plays a mean game of Jenga. Students receive breakfast and or lunch when they're there. Our Alex Teepole DeWitt and our food service department, in conjunction with facilities, have been fantastic because they will bring students their breakfast and their lunch so they're not missing out on those meals during the day. Classroom teachers have gone down on planning periods or their lunch to check in with kids to make sure that they don't have any questions, even to Zoom with them. It still provides that connection that if students were just learning at home may not be there.
So really, the Learning Center is intended to provide students with prioritized learning to the essential standards that they're missing when they're not in school. There are several instructional blocks that are provided during the Learning Center. We have 3 different instructional blocks, and it takes a very strong collaboration between our tutoring team and the building team in order to be able to individualize the work that the students are engaged in and the communication in terms of what was completed at the tutoring center, so when they return to class, teachers have a good sense of where those students are entering back in that classroom, into that unit, into that curriculum. The learning blocks are set to be able to provide students what is required in the regulations. So if you're a student at a 7 through 12 level, you need 3 hours of tutoring a day or 15 hours per week. And anyone younger than that, you need 10 hours a week, 2 hours a day. And so there's been some tight collaboration with the transportation to be able to provide the 3 different blocks of tutoring. And those 3 different blocks also allow the building teams, when they're working with the tutoring team, to determine what is the best match for that student. Do they come in the morning, do they come in the afternoon, or do they come in that middle section? So it's taken us 1.5 years to get into a really good groove, but there's strong communication between the tutoring, the Learning Center, and the school teams. Some data that of the Learning Center is that last year we had 198 students served at the Learning Center as of January 2024, and this year we have 78 students that have been served. And I really want us to look at that 78 students is really a testament to the buildings and their focus on the Tier 1 behavioral needs and the response of the PPS teams in supporting students. And so we've had a decrease in suspension. We're working on supporting kids with that proactive coping skills, problem solving, and there's a lot of preventative supports that are being put in place at the building level. There are a variety of reasons why students access the tutoring center, and the majority reason are for students that are on their short-term or long-term suspension. But the tutoring center really allows for a lot of flexibility and can support students who are maybe students students with disabilities waiting an out-of-district program. It could be, like Karen talked about, bridging back for a student. So a student who had been in partial hospitalization and is coming back to school, and they need a truncated schedule. Also, it could be medical tutoring, but that could be for a surgery or a hospitalization stay, but also could be for mental health. And it has the potential and the support to engage students in credit recovery or for Regents preparation. We thought we would end our presentation tonight with just sharing 2 student journeys and give an example. So a student at the 7-12 level was struggling, and there was a problem-solving meeting where the student was really engaging in their AM classes, all the core classes. So the science, the social studies, ELA, and math. But the afternoons were challenging, and so because of that, the student was making some poor choices and was at risk of failing those elective classes. So the team at the school worked really closely with our tutoring team, and that student went to school in the morning, came to the tutoring center in the afternoon, and the elective teachers prioritized the work, and one of the classes was woodworking and technology. And so down came the measuring sticks and the wood and all of that, and there was supplemental instruction provided for that student for a very short amount of time. Student returned to the high school. Credits are all in place, on track for, passing their classes for the quarter, and that's just one example how the teams individualized for that student. Another student was one of our younger students. It was a student with a disability that was really struggling in their current program and just needed a reset. And so they attended the tutoring center during the middle block, and then transported that child up to their school, where they spent time with one of the security people who was had a very strong connection, and did some jobs with that security person, attended lunch and recess, and then went home. So it, again, kept that child connected. And this year, that child has been 100% at school, being successful, and has really built strong relationships back again. And I think without that learning center, he may have been a student that we would have been looking at an out-of-district placement. So those are just two examples of where we have some amazing staff supporting our kids every day. Any questions?
Not a question, but so much gratitude for the center and for the full-time teacher and teacher assistant, because being an educator myself, I can't begin to imagine the amount across so many different subjects and grade levels. And I was curious if you could speak a little bit to what that individual certification is, because I think it's really phenomenal that they're able to do the job that they do. And on past tours of that with my colleagues, I'm blown away by them. I think they are really such a jewel to the district and one of the unsung heroes, because we don't see them up here on campus, on the main part of our campus. So gratitude for them, but also if you could just speak to their certification or qualifications just for public information.
Right. So currently our teacher who is assigned at the Learning Center, he is actually a teacher. He has certification as a special education teacher, and came to us with experience of working with students with disabilities, but also in a program of tutoring and providing instruction at that 7-12 level. And I think his actual certification is in social studies. Okay. And so where we get creative as a district is, we have had some teachers come down who may have to teach like a science or help with the science labs, and that's where Karen was speaking about. A teacher may come down or teach an extra section and provide that direct support to the tutoring center. So we're still building that capacity to be able to meet the diverse needs at that 9-12 level where they're getting credit.
Right.
And then our teacher assistant in that setting, I believe, is also a teacher, certified in art, but wanted a different role and is serving as a teacher assistant in that setting.
Thank you.
The information that you shared, the data, especially the last column where you had 48 in previous year and 10, is remarkable. And I think, to your point, really speaks volumes to what the center does and can continue to do. And it would be interesting to see how these trends over time continue to show the true value of the work that's being done there. So I appreciate the data, and I'm sure that will continue to be a trend that goes forward.
Yeah, we'll keep giving that data to you as well.
If you could actually go back to that slide again, please. The first column, thank you for pointing that out, because I think that speaks to all the adults in the district who are identifying things early or supporting the students early. I mean, that's a precipitous drop, and I think that's not just a blessing, but that's the great work of the adults that are in the district who are supporting the students. The excitement about with the capital project, and as you're envisioning those spaces, I would just ask and encourage, and also remind the superintendent, please ask for whatever it is you need to keep that play. I mean, right now you're knocking it out of the park, but you're working with, well, we just bought it 2 years ago. to please ask for what is needed and go, pie in the sky, and then let us sort all that out to see that we can keep this going in that direction, because it's magnificent.
Thank you. The architects have been wonderful in helping us create that space. All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Item 7C, our budget development update.
As Richard makes his way to the podium, I also want to, one of the first original LinkedIn members of all time, Richard Stutzman. But besides that, I want to also thank him for his work with Christine Griffin, who I also want to welcome. This is Christine's first board member as our Assistant Superintendent for Business. Richard's going to take the floor on this, but they've been working collaboratively together, and we're excited to have Christine, but obviously thank you, Richard, for everything you do for us and really getting the ball rolling around our budget process, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Thank you to the board. It's been an interesting experience, one of many that I've had. Okay, tonight we're going to talk about the Office of Instruction and the Pupil Services Office. I have met with the law firm of Fittner and Ryan several times and to talk through the numbers. And we'll start here, talk about the goals of the budget. We'll show you a slide about what we've talked about at previous meetings. Then the two topics we're talking about, the updated totals, non-personnel, and our budget books that I think you got another section tonight. Okay, there's one more to come. And then the budget calendar review. Okay, the goals, which is, every meeting, these are our goals. It all centers around what's best for kids and what we want to do here instructionally to support them. Oh, backwards. Okay, in the previous meetings, we talked about transportation, O&M, security, and the 5 buildings. Those were the categories. They're all non-personnel. And you could refer back to your previous budget books or budget flyers and they'll explain the reasons why those costs have gone up. But the one thing is we've gotten some updated information from BOCES. We've gotten some cross-contract information. We now can access the pricing for Wayne Finger Lakes, so that the BOCES numbers aren't solid yet, but we'll get there. I do know that what we're going to talk about tonight, those numbers are solid. Transportation went up $3,000. That's because the cost of the summer school special ed and the regular special ed at Monroe and BOCES has gone up. And we did enter into a cross-contract for the Franklin, Essex, Hamilton BOCES for transportation consult services. And they're going to come here during the next month to do an efficiency study for us to see if we could do some things better. And that's where we're at there. Now, the Office of Instruction, the ASI contractual, Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, there's no change there. The curriculum supplies, what I've tried to do in the last few presentations is to give you bulleted points after the table to explain why. We're doing some exciting things there. In-service BOCES went up a little bit, but that's the cost. Things go up. The BOCES instruction is up about 4%. OCAD, that is a huge number, but that's positive, and I'll explain that on the next slide. The BOCES summer school, again, that is for regular summer school, for kids who go and may have to retake a Regents exam, and more kids are doing that, which is positive. And then our total is up, and that's a really skewed number because of one number, and that's your career and tech number, 42%. But the reason why, your curriculum supplies is attributed to an increase in general supplies, a couple $1,000. ELA consumables 10,000 and the Amplify Science curriculum of 50,000. A portion of this $50,000 increase has been taken from the BOCE science curriculum. We're doing it in-house. And more districts are doing this. Matter of fact, they consolidated the BOCE science program, and rather than having Monroe 1 and Monroe 2 both support it, it's all housed over at Monroe 2 over on Buffalo Road. The textbook increase is really not an increase. We've just put it all under one account code. Because of how we have been able to spend software, library books, and textbooks, at the end of this year, probably around the end of April, Karen Fittner and Christine will get together. We're going to pre-purchase our ELA, a lot of our ELA supplies in the current budget for next year using those funds. Because remember, if we don't spend those monies, we don't get them. And the ACAD increase, which is huge, is attributable to a rate increase of roughly $1,250. And we only budgeted 77 kids in the current budget. It looks like we're going to have 105. More and more kids are now starting to take advantage of the career in tech and starting their career that way versus the four-year college degree. That's positive. And the summer school increase is, there's a rate increase and increased participation. Now we get into pupil personnel services. General ed, we're up about $11,000, and that's because more kids. The contractual is up. There's an explanation for that. Supplies are up minimally. The tuition, more kids. BOCES, that's not really a bad increase, but kids need more services, so they cost you more money. Health services remain the same. Health office supplies, again, that isn't a subtraction. Remember at the last meeting when we talked about the buildings, we moved $2,500 from that budget line down into the buildings. And then our PPS contractual will remain the same. General ed tuition is attributed to one extra kid. We have additional services, and the rates have gone up. And those are for outside providers. Supplies, inflationary costs. The tuition is increased. We have an additional kid and some increased rates. The BOCES is increased rates for services, and there is a student or two that do not attend there yet, but you just never know. So rather than getting shorthanded, we always add a student or two just to make sure that we have enough money. And the health office supplies, which I explained. Now, there was a question about the conversations that are going on down in Washington about the Department of Education and what may or may not happen, and I used may or may not, to our federal funds. So what Tim asked me to do is to put this slide together, and I also have one for state. What you need to know is that $1,336,000, if that funding goes away, we either don't provide the service or the local taxpayer picks it up. But I tried to give you a definition of each program. Section 611 is for ages 3 through 21, special needs kids. 619 is for preschool education and related services for 3-5. Again, that's special needs. Title I, academic support is like AIS, only funded with federal money. Title II helps us pay for training our teachers and principals and other educational leaders. Title III is our ENL and helps supports our ENL program. Title IV assists students to provide with a well-rounded education to improve school conditions and school technology. The last three aren't big, but the first and the third are big numbers for us. And believe me, we spend every penny of that. Now for the state, And these are state monies. You get the universal pre-K. We do get some funds from the state and our state aid, but this is above and beyond. Again, the pre-K assists in the funding to allow the district with opportunities to expand our UPK program. For the first 3 are really for, our youngsters before they get to kindergarten. Teacher Center, it's a professional learning community where, there's funds to support and improve our teaching practices. Mentor Teacher, where, you get a young teacher, we hire a lot of them lately because some of us are getting older. And that provides us opportunities to provide them with some training, and that's another $1.3 million. We get nearly $2.7 million from federal and state grants. So those are great numbers for you to have. So at least you know. Now, the next board meeting is really, really important because that's when you're going to go through the revenues. And that's when you will review the tax cap calculation. You have to submit it the next day. So that's important. We're talking about maybe adding some additional expense side to provide you a better opportunity to see where we are. Then on Wednesday, the 12th, there'll be a personnel update. I know Dorothy and Christine are working on that. March 27th is just an update on any changes. On April 10th, review your final budget and hopefully adopt it. May 6th is your budget hearing and meet the candidates. Tuesday is your vote. And Tuesday, May 20th, the budget vote in the Board of Education election. And I know somebody said we hope to have a budget by April 1st. I remember once in my life going to vote on our budget when we used to vote early in May, not knowing what our state numbers were. They never approved the budget until June. That was really interesting. So there's that. And then the infamous slide. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. Thank you for including the federal funds slide. I had requested that information, so thank you for getting that to us so quickly. That $1.3 million, if, because I know it's if it is or if it isn't, if the Department of Education is dissolved at the federal level, even at some point next year, what do we do about that money, that $1.3 million? Like, where would you advise us if we had to make up that difference?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
I know, and I'm sorry, but it is a concern.
I understand that. And what makes it difficult is you get to January, let's say, and you've already put in, let's say, the end of January. It's easy, end of the first semester. You can't kill a program. So what ends up happening is the money then would have to come from surplus. That's why you carry the 4% at the end of the year into the next year. That would be my recommendation. But then as you're putting the budget together for 26, 27, then you got to decide.
Where is that money coming from?
Or do you not do as much?
Right. Okay.
But that's what I recommend.
Okay. Thank you.
I remember they took state aid away from us one year in January. But then they told us we didn't have to pay the teacher's retirement. But guess what? We had to pay for it over 5 years afterwards. So they do these things. But that's a good question.
On the slide where you discussed, it's a small amount relatively, it's $3,000, but as far as the transportation consultant,
yeah.
When they're doing that, as far as maximizing aid, what are they looking at? They're looking at fleet size, bus run routes, how many runs, all of it, or?
Efficiency with the bus runs. Okay?
Based on fleet size?
Based on fleet size.
Right. When they do that, are they also then now leveraging the discussion of what that will look like as districts are specifically ours transitioning from diesel to electric? So that's not
it's just a current bus run.
Okay.
Okay. One of the problems that we have is that the length of our bus runs and our times of the day makes it extremely problematic to get back in time for sports trips. Okay? It's extremely problematic when a group wants to go to the RPO and they have to be there by a certain time, but we can't leave before a certain time. And, you know, it takes so many minutes to get from here downtown. And those are the things that are going to be looking at.
Thank you.
Okay? And by the way, because it's through BOCES, that whole thing is BOCES-able.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. Any other questions? Come on, you guys are making it easy on me. But again, it's been a pleasure being with you. Thanks for having me and putting up with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for your guidance. Multiple times.
Right. Yeah.
Second tour of duty. Thanks again.
All right. Item 70, the approval of several trips. Our art club trip to New York City, May 16th to May 18th. Winter Guard trip to Salem, Massachusetts this weekend to compete in a regional competition. Winter Guard to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania from 3/21 to 3/23 to compete in another regional competition. And then Winter Guard again in Dayton, Ohio from 4/2 to 4/6 to compete in the World Class Final Championships. I will need a motion to approve the following trips.
Brian?
A second?
Elizabeth?
There's not many of us tonight. Someone's got to do it. Any questions on these trips? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Enjoy those trips. Item 7E is policy review, the second reading of the following policy, school volunteers and visitors to the school. Any questions on that? No. Okay. Item 8, meeting reports. Any Monroe County School Board Association committee report updates? Yeah, so yesterday was the district operations meeting where it was school budgeting in the post-foundation and federal COVID funds era with a presentation by the Assistant Superintendent of Business from Pittsford. I thought it was excellent, actually really informative, and something that Monroe County School Board should consider having all board members see. I think it was really important to understand where the revenues are coming from, your state aid, your tax levy, and sort of the history of what's happened. I know Christopher, and I think you were there. Were you there in person? Mm-hmm. We can never see who's in the room, but if you want to add anything on that.
No, you nailed it, and I think it's maybe reaching out to Amy.
Yeah.
Monroe, just saying every year, I just think every board should have it, no matter what. It was very well done. So kudos to the gentleman from Pittsburgh too. He did a great job.
And I don't believe the slides were posted yet, but we'll share them with the rest of the board once they are.
Actually, I just looked.
And then I also attended on February 5th the information exchange meeting on FERPA and Ed Law 2D. Really just went over ensuring everyone understands what they need to do as it relates to both of those. Also very beneficial for board members and really helpful. And then several of us were at the legislative breakfast on February 1st. Again, advocating for Victor and all schools in the area, but really getting some time to make a point of the differences here in our district than many of the others. It's sort of like speed dating with your legislators, but it is great to be able to sit down and speak with all of them. Governor's office was there as well. And then students spoke on several topics, mental health, transportation. So it's always great to hear the student perspective on all of those. I know who others were there. Feel free.
I wasn't, but I have another update so I'll wait for others to comment.
I just had one. On the information exchanges, I think it would behoove this group if we looked at the Monroe County schedule for all of them and made sure especially with the Zoom option, I mean, I was supposed to be there in person. My day went sideways, so I was able to, thank you, Kate, by the way, for getting that link to me, to attend via the Zoom. I think it's good for the board that we at least have one or two, or whatever, kind of divide up the calendar to see, so we can cover them all, because there's some great stuff that we don't all need to be in the room for. We can bring it back.
Thank you. Good recommendation. It's a very brief update. I sit on the Graduates with Distinction Committee. We met last Wednesday. Great group. Good discussion. Very impressed with the recommendation that's going to be going forward, and excited to see what comes out of that.
To that, I sit on the Athletic Hall of Fame committee, and I know one of the discussions that we had, I'm not telling tales outside of school because it's something the district is looking at, is the potential, if you remember, this room was filled with plaques, and we run out of walls in the building, of some sort of digital repository for that. And one of the discussions is not just Athletic Hall of Fame, get the Cadillac version of whatever that is, and Graduates of Distinction, Visual and Performing Arts, Athletic Hall of Fame. You could go back to all the graduating classes that have ever come through these hallways, so that's hopefully get that crossover and integrate that too. So that's just one of the things that's being discussed.
Any other standing committee updates?
Yes, we had an IPAC meeting, which is the Inquiry Program Advisory Council. So it's kind of just like checking in to see what the inquiry programs are kind of up to. So that's first grade through 6th. So we sat down and they are always doing amazing things. At intermediate, Mrs. Smith-Faison is doing some push-in, which is what I personally always like, because then the whole cohort gets that enrichment. So she's doing a lot of push-in for Math O, which is Math Olympiad, and also a whole poetry lesson, and kind of you're bringing a different flavor to that into the classroom, so that was awesome. And then she still does the pull-outs, so doing another poetry kind of pull-out for a smaller group of kids, book clubs, robotics, engineering, building tiny houses, and rocket launchers. So they're doing some cool stuff. And at primary, Mrs. Caniglio is doing some logic puzzles and like logic grids, and really kind of going through with the kids about that. So that seemed really awesome. And a new one that she was doing this semester was having kids do cross-stitching. So it's that, hands-on, fine motor.
My daughter's in that one. She loves it.
Yeah, a lot of, there's the math, the patterns, that whole aspect. And what she found that they weren't expecting is the mental health aspect of it, that calming, something that they can do whenever. So it really started some other conversations, and, how to kind of do this at home, and what to look at. So that sounded interesting. And then they're just looking at what kind of things they're looking, like what kind of things to bring next year, to what options. But I do have to give a shout out to Maggie Elliott and Michelle Lindsay. They're both retiring this year, and they have been an asset to the inquiry program for years, because we only have 2 inquiry teachers, and the librarians really kind of do a lot of classes and do a lot of pullouts, do a lot of book clubs. Michelle Lindsay always did some tech clubs. So they have been, phenomenal for all these years, and they are going to be sorely missed.
Any other standing committee updates? Well, this was a busy month for committee meetings, both at Monroe County School Boards and here, apparently. 8C is nominations for BOCES board members. It's that time of year again. We have had some discussion, and it seems like Mr. DeLucia is potentially considering that, so we will allow him to speak more on that when he is back next month from his duties as the Uber driver of New York City on assignment. Upcoming events. We have a budget workshop on February 27th. We will also have a meeting after that budget workshop. Our next board meeting is on Wednesday, March 12th, not Thursday, Wednesday that week at 7:15. And then a budget workshop on the following Thursday, March 20th at 6:30.
We also have the Albany trip on Monday, March 3rd.
That's
if
right.
anyone else would like to join me down the 90 to Albany.
Is registration still open for that? When does
think
that?
so.
It might close this week. We can take a peek and make sure, just because I know that's coming up soon for others who might want to go.
Does anybody else know if they want, if they're able to?
I will be out of the state.
I put in for it, I'm waiting approval.
All right, so we might have a lot of people going.
You going?
Anything else? All right, if not, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second.
We're staying.
Like, come on, guys. Any opposed, abstentions? I doubt it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, in the immortal words of President DeLucia, we've had a meeting.